Good morning and welcome back to Grace Over Gimmicks, where I talk about real food, real science, and real faith. I am Brenda Ballard, your host as usual, and I found something very interesting that I totally want to dive into. So apparently there's this whole new online trend. Okay, so let's just start this off by saying the internet is not your nutritionist. Stop using it. So let's talk about one of the newest viral trends apparently online. It's kind of pretty big on TikTok and Instagram with like wellness content recently. So if you watch a lot of those, you've probably seen it. But this is something that is the so-called internal shower. Weird. The name alone sounds like something I don't want any part of. So, typically, this internal shower thing is involving stuff like psyllium husk, chia seeds, lemon juice, and water. And what people are doing is they are basically telling everybody to drink, like first thing in the morning, drinking a glass of water with chia seeds or psyllium husk powder in it, and claiming that it is going to completely clean out your guts, detox your body, help with rapid weight loss, suppressing your appetite, and is basically what they are calling an Ozempic alternative. And I don't think there's a single person that does not know what Ozempic is right now. It's a GLP-1 antagonist. It's very big in the weight loss industry. It is a pharmacological drug that mimics our GLP-1 hormone that we make naturally in the body when we eat certain things or do certain activities. And people are basically injecting it in order to lose lots of weight because their appetite is entirely suppressed because gastric emptying is completely stopped. So that is what it is. That is what it does. It is not the healthiest form of anything. It affects lots of other systems. I don't knock people who use it, especially when they are working on bettering their habits and their lives while doing it. But I also am somebody that very much likes to educate on the consequences of it. And if there is another alternative, let's work on that. So, just my opinion. But, so let's start by clarifying what the heck people mean when they say internal shower. I have to giggle every time I say it. So the idea behind the name is apparently because, they are representing this huge fiber mixture that's supposedly going to move through your intestines like a shower with a scrub brush and completely scrub and sweep out your waste, toxins, build up old stool, and supposedly just totally cleansing the digestive tract. And while that sounds really appealing, it's got a stronger reality that is much more physiologically complex than social media is really making it seem for a lot of people. So what is actually happening, biochemically in this? So let's break down the science. Psyllium husk, if you don't know what it is a soluble fiber. It can be found in some foods. It can be found as supplements. And it is derived from the husk of Plantago ovata seeds. And when we mix this soluble fiber with water, it basically absorbs the liquid and forms a very thick gel-like consistency. So when used appropriately and accordingly, this gel can, soften the stool, increase the bulk, slow your gastric emptying naturally, and support bowel regularity for people who are struggling with an issue with soluble fiber. But mechanistically, the fiber absorbs water in the intestines, which increases the stool volume, and then stimulating mechanoreceptors in the intestinal walls. What this triggers is peristalsis, intestinal contractions, and getting some movement flowing through the GI tract. And that is why psyllium is commonly used for constipation support. Again, commonly, not always. It's not always the answer. Not everybody requires the same supplements, diets, protocols with the same issue of constipation. It varies, okay? So commonly, not always the answer. So there's a big thing that matters here too, is water. And why does water matter? Because it's a nuance that is incredibly important. Psyllium without enough fluid can actually worsen constipation. Because fiber needs water to do what it's supposed to do. Otherwise, you just got like some dry cement that you've just ingested into your system. So without the adequate hydration, the gel is going to become far too thick and difficult to move throughout the intestines effectively. And in a worst case scenario, getting something like a blockage. We don't want that. So when people are rapidly increasing their fiber intake without increasing their fluid or getting even enough fluid for using some sort of supplement like that, they are going to experience severe bloating, cramping, distension in the abdomen, extremely slowed motility, and worsened constipation. And these are normal individuals. We have other individuals with chronic conditions that this is like, maybe they're not educated on what they're supposed to be doing either, and they're watching these things on the internet thinking, oh my gosh, I should try that. And this is why people sharing a lot of things on the internet is not good, because we have individuals that are much more sensitive than a typical individual with all these issues. So especially people that have things like SIBO, IBS, dysbiosis, sluggish motility, and chronic digestive inflammation, these people are going to have those symptoms like far worse, and probably even risking other consequences from following this crazy information that is out there. So the other one that they are using is chia seeds. And the role of chia seeds, they kind of function somewhat similarly, just not completely. So they absorb water and then they create mucilage. And this is the gel-like coating composed largely of soluble fiber. And if you have ever had chia seeds or put them in anything, like chia seed pudding, things like that, it's like the seed remains, but it gets that gel coating around the seed. So if you put it in water, it will literally make the water into a gel. A lot of people will just like mix them in and drink it, when really it takes so long for the shell to break down that you're typically supposed to like put it in the water the night before you drink it and then drink the gel, if that's something you're doing. But this like pure chia seeds in the water and just chugging it away, not good. So but they are great, right? They're a great thing and they should be used appropriately. They're super high in omega-3 fatty acids, minerals, antioxidants, lots of things. And yes, they absolutely can support digestive health when used correctly. But again, supportive does not equal magical, as these claims are claiming. This is where social media often, it moves very far from physiology and into marketing and financial gain, because the body does not it doesn't like store mysterious unnamed toxins in the colon that are waiting to be scrubbed away by a drink. That's just not how our bodies work. It's not how they function. Our body already has very highly sophisticated detoxification systems. Our systems within our body were designed so purely and so distinctively. They are intelligent. Our systems know what's going on. Our metabolic system, you drop weight too fast, your metabolic system tells you you're starving and you want to overeat because it notices a threat that quickly. And it's just, they're sophisticated, they're smart, they know what to do, they know how to respond, and they know how to perform. So our liver performs, it has phase 1 detoxification and then phase 2, which is through the conjugation pathways. And these are the pathways using our glutathione, amino acids, sulfation, and the methylation pathways. And then we have bile acids that transport waste. We have our intestines, which work to eliminate it. The kidneys filter our blood. Our lungs eliminate gases. And our skin participates in excretion of toxins, of sweat, of other things. So our body's detoxifying constantly. So there is no need, nor is there any time where our body is only detoxifying and cleaning when we're drinking fiber water. So another part of this trend is the appetite suppression angle. Back to the Ozempic comparison. People are promoting this drink because they're filling their bodies with so much fiber with not enough water that it is making them feel full, and then their gastric emptying is slowing because it cannot move through their bodies, through their systems. With this fullness happening from the fiber, which is it's not a terrible thing. If it was natural, if it was normal, like if you had a normal amount of fiber in your meal or through your day, you would get these same effects of reduced cravings and feeling full longer. You'd be more satiated. We don't need to overdo it. The typical person doesn't need any more than 35 grams of fiber a day. And this is all leading to a high decrease in food intake for these individuals that are making these claims. So physiologically, yes, it makes sense. Like I said, soluble fiber slows gastric emptying, increases stomach distension, and that influences the satiety signaling. So this is including the hormones, GLP-1, like we talked about, peptide YY is what it is, and then we have ghrelin regulation. But there is definitely concerns there, right? Because everybody is so culturally deeply obsessed with suppressing hunger and not comparing. Oh, my brain's not working. Putting together that suppressed hunger equals weight loss, that suppressed hunger equals health, suppressed hunger equals all these things that it does not. It leads to so many more problems. So every wellness trend right now seems to be revolving around eating less, shrinking your appetite, ignoring your hunger cues. And hunger itself is not the enemy. Appetite suppression is not the answer. Hunger is communication. It is your body's way of speaking to you. So, wow. internal showering. I still can't get over the name. Let's talk about who really is not going to respond well to this, because I feel like I slightly touched on it, but I just didn't go too well into it. So we got people with like IBS, SIBO, dysbiosis, impaired motility, inflammatory bowel conditions. When we have fiber, so we have lots of foods that we have carbohydrates, we have fiber, we have all these foods, and there's specific forms that are fermentable. So when things hit our stomach and we have the stomach acid, when we have those gases, things ferment. And there's a lot of individuals, especially with the conditions I mentioned, they are highly sensitive to fermentable foods. So we have a specific therapeutic diet called the FODMAP diet, which is a fermentable oligosaccharides, monosaccharides, disaccharides avoidance diet. This is because all of these forms they're highly fermentable, and then people have the very excessive like abdominal distension and things that are extremely painful, not good for people. So when we have like excessive fiber that is fermentable, this is where we're going to get like an insane increase in bloating, gas production. And it's not like the normal, like, oh my gosh, I'm bloated. It hurts. It is painful. There is strong abdominal discomfort, strong pressure, constipation, diarrhea, you name it. Any issue that you could have at that point in time, you're having, and it doesn't feel good, and it's not comfortable, and it's embarrassing, and it can really dictate like their lives. You know, people gotta get up and go to work, and here they are suffering because they listen to a TikTok trend. So because the gut bacteria ferments the fiber, like all of that discomfort and the distension and the bloating are coming from the gases that are produced because we produce hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and methane. And depending on the microbiome composition of that individual, which is my mic off? No, I don't think so. Weird. I saw a red light and started to wonder if things were off. So, you know, the microbiome composition is different, no matter, like, who you are. Like, none of us have the same. So, depending on that, doing things like this can either improve symptoms or they can very strongly worsen them. So, to be very clear, fiber absolutely plays an important role in gut health. I am not debunking fiber whatsoever, obviously. Many fibers are prebiotics. They feed our beneficial bacteria in the gut. So this helps with the microbiome composition. And the fermentation of fiber produces, we have things like, they're actually called resistant starches, and the name sounds like something you would not want, right? We make pasta and we rinse the starch off, but resistant starches are great. So the fermentation of the fiber produces short chain fatty acids like butyrate, acetate, and propionate, and these are resistant starches. And things like butyrate in particular help with supporting your colon cells, regulating inflammation, and maintaining your gut barrier integrity. So we're definitely not demonizing fiber. Just context matters. Just totally matters on what's going on. So my bigger concern, honestly, is not like psyllium itself. It's not chia seeds itself. It's not any of these things. I'm just trying to really do like the whole food versus the hack culture. We are constantly being sold things like hacks, shortcuts, miracle drinks, overnight detoxes, things like this. when really we need to be focusing on balanced meals, including fiber, hydration, nervous system regulation, movement, micronutrients, whole foods, and pure consistency, because true gut health is usually much less glamorous than social media wants it to be. And spiritually, I think this really reflects something deeper too, because we live in a culture that is so desperate for instant transformation, immediate results, and quick fixes. But healing, especially in a spiritual culture, really requires patience, stewardship, consistency, and wisdom. Not the gimmicks that everybody's trying to sell us. To live in a time where the answer is always something so fast, and instant transformation is insane. And I think it weakens and damages our faith, or just, how we practice our stewardship and our patience and what we're willing to do. Because how many times have you prayed and gotten an answer right away? How many times have you prayed and the problem was still there and the trial was still there? And if you constantly want quick fixes, that when you get those small blessings, even though you're in a trial, you don't recognize them for what they are. So we can't continue on this super fast, quick fix, instant culture. We got to bring it back. So that is exactly why I am so big on doing this. Grace over gimmicks. So big on it. Insistent. Just trying to make a difference in all the areas, right? We all need a little slowing down, a little listening, and a little practice in many aspects of our lives. So I don't really have much more to say about this. Internal showering. It's kind of a quick one, but it has been a month, right? Who else has had a month? May has not been a very easy month. It's been very difficult. It has been crazy. I have been slammed. Everybody I know has been slammed. And there's not been much room to breathe. So I am giving myself a little grace. I'm not going crazy. I'm not being super long. And I found something a little fun that just kept coming up. And I'm like, oh boy, okay. Something to debunk a little bit. So if there are any topics, any quick fads, new things that are coming out that people catch before I do, please send them to me, comment them, whatever. I totally want to look into them. I totally want to pull them apart, pick them to pieces, and talk about the slower, healthier, better approach to getting the same results that are meant for you to have, because that matters. So, until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you have a wonderful week. Try not to follow any TikTok or Instagram trends. Remember that the internet is not your nutritionist, and speak to a licensed professional. So, yes, this is Grace Over Gimmicks, where we talk about real food, real science, and real faith. And I hope you all have a blessed week. I will see you next time.